And 3, 2,
Which, I mean,
1.
I don't blame. Oh.
I don't blame him either. Hey, this is the
Yeah.
Undercurrent, and we are debating a new case today, and it's going to be a doozy today. I think, Tony, what do you think?
That that would actually be fun. Like I'm starting sort of a little about a sidetrack, but I want to make sure I say this. I think it'd be interesting to run debates on this.
So do I.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Okay.
do
Now that I said that, uh, yeah, we're talking about an interesting case. We wanted to be able to follow up with this guy, but unfortunately, we haven't been able to reach him. Which, I mean, I totally understand why, especially after we go through this. It's why would you want to relive this and essentially put your life back at risk because of a case being dismissed without prejudice, which I suppose we'll get
right.
into some of
They
those
still hold
details.
that over his head. Yeah. And when I got to interview him, he was legitimately nervous and scared for his life because of
Yeah.
the, like how you said it, stacking the charges so high and throwing everything at the wall to see if it sticks. And it scared him into whichever. So we're gonna read the
Yeah, how do
case
you want
and
to
we'll go
I'm
through it.
thinking maybe you just give like a, or do we just read the police report and go
Yeah, let's
from there, or maybe just do like a quick high level description as I open up these documents and get prepared to share them.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll tell the backstory about how my neighbor came over and asked me to, again, here we are look at a case, and it just so happened to land on the Mike Hansen case. And so we got really, really busy, and we've been trying to get this case to the forefront, and because it's so cut and dry and so clear. And so I called them, I got the number and I called them and I sat with them for about an hour and a half or 2 hours. We talked, and what a gentleman. He a clear
Well, he's a
gentleman.
professional, right?
He's a professional, and he visits Great Falls very often, and he stays at this hotel often. They knew his dog, and when he got arrested, they kept his dog for him, and his car got impounded, so he had no way of having a ride or anything. So they were going to help him through this hotel, and I can't remember the name of the hotel, but he stayed there quite often. And so he was embarrassed, number one. He was in shock at the charges that they were going to give him. In the summary and the foreshadow of this case, he was walking his dog and another dog came into an attack. And when it came in, Mike had pulled his sidearm and was going to defend his dog and himself. Now we'll get more into the case, and I want the listeners to actually listen to the case, because you will get angry. It'll make you really upset at how this is handled and the fear they put into people to plea. And when it was a clear cut case that, I mean, it could have been lowered even to a misdemeanor with a ticket, as far as I'm concerned, the way that the laws read. That's in a nutshell.
Yeah. So what we have here, and we'll have a couple of documents. I wish we had the actual video footage that they had, but this is the report from the Great Falls Police Department. So primary report made by Nicholas Watson, MVRE available, yes. Which, do you know what that refers to, Kevin? MVRE? I'm not quite sure.
I'm not familiar with
I
that.
wonder if it's like video recording or something like that.
You're
That'd be
probably onto
my
something.
guess.
Yeah,
Because
you're
they
probably
have
right.
use of force, no photos added, yes. So
Yeah,
that'd be some of my
that'd
thoughts.
be, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Evidence that they ended up collecting. So they have photos, a car 32 watchguard video, arrest and interview, a Ruger 1911 pistol, a 4 Ruger 1911 magazines, 28 rounds of 45 ammo, leather pistol holster, leather magazine pouch, and a 59-ounce mace. And again, the charge was criminal endangerment, which Montana Code annotated as here, 455207, which we'll probably take a look here. So this is what Officer Watson ended up writing. On January 29th, 2024, at about 07:06 hours, I was dispatched to the Motel 6, 2 Treasure State Drive, in reference to a disturbance. The complainant, Michael Scherbach, reported a female's dog had gotten loose, attacked his dog, and he pulled his pistol. A male in a white truck confronted Michael and pushed him. Michael sprayed the male with mace but did not think he hit the male with it. Upon my arrival, I met with the male who had been in the white truck parked in the parking lot and identified him as Rudolph or Rudy Hall. Rudy told me he had been here at Motel 6 to pick his son Tristan Hall up from work. While Rudy was waiting in his truck, he heard dogs barking and possibly fighting. He exited his truck in order to try and break up the fight. As Rudy exited his truck and walked towards the dogs, he found a male, identified as Michael Scherbach, in a shooter stance, positioning a pistol at the dog, and a young female who was crouched down holding the dog. Rudy got between the male and female, trying to prevent the dog and female from being shot. Rudy tried to push the male back to get him away from the female. Rudy said at one point the male pointed the gun at him while he was pushing him back. Michael holstered his pistol and transitioned to a can of mace and sprayed Rudy, hitting him on the back of his body. I made contact with Michael, was currently inside of room 117. Michael exited his room and was very cooperative. Due to the report of a weapon, he was detained in handcuffs. During a pat-down for weapons, I located 2 loaded 1911 magazines and hid the cargo pockets of his pants. Michael allowed us, law enforcement, into his room in order to retrieve his pistol, which was lying on the bed in a leather holster. Michael was in the room with us at the time. I cleared the pistol, which had a round chambered, and made it safe by locking the slide back. There's another magazine in a leather magazine pouch and a can of mace on the bed. I collected these items at this time while I continued my investigation. I escorted Michael to my patrol vehicle and had him sit in the back seat in order to speak with him about the incident. I read Michael his Miranda rights, and he agreed to speak with me about the incident. Michael told me he had brought his dog out to use the bathroom. As he walked his dog, a white dog ran towards him. He initially believed the dog was coming after him and then started attacking his dog. Michael felt he was in danger, so he drew his pistol and shouted to the female owner, "Get control of the dog." Michael had the safety on the pistol and never pointed it at the female. Michael said he tried to hit the dog to get it away from his dog as it was biting his. Michael's dog was on a chain and the white dog was not. The female did get control of the dog by pulling the dog by its tail, and Michael believed it was over. The male from the white truck then came over and began pushing him and trying to fight. Michael said he never pointed his pistol at the male, nor did he threaten him. Rather, the male was threatening Michael. Michael said he still had his pistol in his hand when the male first pushed him. While he was calling Michael a dumb motherfucker, the male tried pushing Michael to the ground. Michael said he holstered his pistol and sprayed the male with mace. I asked Michael if he believed he created a serious risk of serious bodily injury to the female by pointing his pistol at the dog as the female was holding on to it. He told me he did not, as the pistol was unsafe, his finger was off the trigger, and he was aware where the female was in relation to the pistol. After speaking with Michael, it appeared he pulled his pistol out in self-defense as he was in fear of being attacked by the white dog. I spoke with Tristan Hall, who was the initial caller into dispatch. He told me he had heard dogs barking and initially believed the barking was coming from inside the hotel. When Tristan looked outside, he saw Michael pointing a gun at his father, Rudy. Tristan came outside and Rudy was yelling at Michael for pointing the gun at the girls and their dog. Tristan said Michael still had the gun in his hand at this time. Tristan said he got in between Rudy and Michael, telling Michael to go into the building and for Rudy to go into his truck. I spoke with 2 females who had been involved in the incident, and I identified them as Trinity Pike and Madison Swenson. Trinity and Madison had been outside to take their dogs to use the bathroom. As Michael brought his dog out, their white dog slipped out of the harness and ran towards Michael's. Trinity said she ran to grab her dog, and Madison stayed behind with the other dog. Trinity then saw a glimpse of a pistol being pointed towards her and her dog. Trinity was able to pull her dog away by its tail. I asked Trinity how this made her feel. She told me after the fact she was freaked out. I spoke with Trinity and Madison's mother, Dixie Swenson, and she told me Michael and their dogs have been around each other before. This is why she thought it was strange he pulled out a pistol today. Officer Wilcox was able to obtain video from the Motel 6 of the incident. At the time of the incident, it was still dark outside, and where Michael is initially standing when the white dog charges him, it is not very clear. In the video, you can see the white dog get away from Trinity and run towards Michael. I can see Michael turning around, and he appears to be trying to get the dog away. Trinity runs toward Michael and the dogs. Rudy is seen exiting his truck, which is parked in front of the Motel 6, and he approaches Michael, Trinity, and the dogs. I then see Michael quickly move backwards as if he had just been pushed. Michael backs away from Rudy towards the front of the Motel 6. He has his pistol in his right hand, pointed to the ground. I never see Michael raise the gun towards Rudy, as Rudy and Tristan had reported. Michael appears to be trying to holster his pistol, but he has his dog's leash in his left hand and is having a difficult time getting his pistol into the holster. Rudy continues to walk towards Michael in what appears to be an aggressive manner, causing Michael to continue to walk backward. Rudy walks away before again walking towards Michael. Michael retrieves his mace and spray it towards Rudy. Michael is then able to holster his pistol and goes into the building with his dog. After reviewing the video, I could not see clearly what exactly happened when Michael initially pulled out his pistol on the white dog. At the point of Rudy becoming involved in pushing Michael, Rudy appeared to be the aggressor, and Michael appeared justified in his use of mace against Rudy. As it appeared Michael pulled out his pistol in self-defense, I spoke with Sergeant Price about whether Michael knowingly created the substantial risk of death or serious bodily injury. He believed Michael did in fact create this risk. At the conclusion of my investigation, I informed Michael he was being placed under arrest and being charged with criminal endangerment. I transported Michael to the detention center where he was remanded on the above-listed charge, as Michael currently had his dog in his hotel room. I asked what he wanted done with his dog. Michael told me the hotel staff has helped take care of his dog. He would contact them from the detention center to make arrangements. I later entered the above listed evidence into evidence at the police department. I took no further action. So
Oh
I'll just pause
my
there.
gosh.
Yeah, I mean it's right here, as it appeared Michael pulled out his pistol in self-defense. Like everything leading up to that, you kind of think, okay, what's going to come of it? And all of a sudden, Sergeant Price comes out of nowhere saying he did create a substantial risk of death or serious bodily injury. Just crazy.
Which we have. And the investigation should have been over when they were all caught in a lie.
Mm-hmm.
They were caught in a lie. The video showed that, because by the time he gets pushed back, the son, the boy, he says he saw him point the gun at him, which I'm thinking he probably saw him point the mace at him, and he took it for the gun, because
Right. Yeah,
but
because it's dark out, so like holding anything up, it's either like a
yeah,
mace or gun. I mean, either way. Well, and let's see, when did he? Tristan Hall, who was the initial caller into dispatch, he told me he had heard the dogs barking and initially believed the barking was coming from inside the hotel. When Tristan looked outside, he saw Michael pointing a gun at his father, Rudy. Tristan came outside and Rudy was yelling at Michael for pointing the gun at the girls and their dog. Tristan said Michael still had the gun in his hand at the time. Okay. I mean, well, and it's sort of, and here's another one here. So Michael retrieves his mace and spray it towards Rudy. Michael is then able to holster his pistol and go into the building with his dog. So it makes it sound like, and I would actually be kind of curious about that, because Michael's trying to hold the dog with his left hand, trying to holster or reholster his gun, but it seems like maybe he wasn't able to do that. So instead he grabs his mace, and I'm curious about how that works with hands, and then is able to then holster his pistol after spraying Rudy with it.
yeah, because I do believe Mike said he kept his mace on the opposite side of his pistol, so which makes a lot of
So
sense.
potentially, like if he's holding onto the leash, he might be
Yeah,
able to
he can
grab
still grab it
with his
and right,
yeah.
and then use it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he's you know he's somebody who's a trained individual, and we saw that, and unfortunately in this time and age, it's almost against you to say that you're trained, and everything that he
Yeah, you're
did.
held to a higher standard because of that a lot of times.
And that standard, I think he met through this whole entire thing. I don't know a cop in the world who wouldn't have shot that dog 3 steps in coming at him. I mean, I mean, what I mean to them, that is a dog is a serious threat. We can look up how many times dogs are shot by police officers, because
Yeah.
and sometimes the dogs are actually harmless. They just seem to be a little bit dangerous, or to them, but they don't know. So unfortunately, the dog takes the brunt of it, and
I
that's unfortunate.
yeah. I think this is an interesting line. I'm surprised the officer didn't ask like another question here. So I spoke with Trinity and Madison's mother, Dixie Swenson, and she told me Michael and their dogs had been around each other before. This is why she thought it was strange he pulled out a pistol today. Well, I'd like to know, sure, they may have been around each other before, but have they fought like that before or gotten loose like that before? Like, if the circumstances are very different than past experience, then I don't think it would be strange on why he pulled out a pistol.
Right. And what I got from Mike was that they were out going to the bathroom. Those dogs were leashed. His was, and it was a passing controlling them under leash conditions. So
Mm-hmm.
a dog off leash is definitely different than a dog on leash. Sometimes dogs are actually more aggressive when they're on the leash than they are when they are running free, and vice versa, right? We all have had dogs. So in any manner, it doesn't matter. She broke. She's almost in trouble because her dog was able to get loose, and now she should have had
Yeah.
a citation for an unleashed dog,
Right.
right?
Especially
No
because
matter if it
like
pops.
it makes you wonder the harness, because I think they said the dog was on a harness and got out of the harness, which usually I understand if they just have a collar on. Like that tends to be something easy to get out of. But harnesses typically aren't very easy to for a dog to get out of.
Yeah, you'd have to be really loose or break a clip because they got excited.
Yeah.
I use a very heavy duty one for my lab and mine when we're out
I
camping and
bet it'd
doing
have to be
whichever.
heavy duty. Yeah.
Yeah, but my border shepherd, he's he's enough to pull if you don't have the right harness on. I could see him also pulling himself through that and breaking.
Hmm.
You have to have the right specs for each dog. Oh,
Right.
ah, I, but okay, but there's still negligence there on her side.
Yep.
And that should have been addressed. I also don't like when he became, and he says, Rudy became the aggressor. As soon as that happens, he's justified anyways to just go ahead and re-pull his firearm against him.
Hmm.
He could have used it and turned it because he's allowed to, and I'll show that in a minute because um and it's I think in our notes it's in here. Let me read. An open carry weapon, 45.311. Open carry weapon display exceptions. Okay. Well, number one, any person who is not otherwise prohibited from doing so by federal or state law may openly carry a weapon and may communicate to another person the fact that the person has a weapon. So he could have announced, I have a weapon, get your dog off of it. Okay. Fine. He's already covered there. Number two, if a person reasonably believes that the person or other person is threatening by bodily harm, and we can think a bear or a dog is within the person, okay, the person may warn or threaten the use of force, including deadly force, against the aggressor, including drawing and presenting a weapon. So he could have drawn his weapon and held it on his chest and said, I have a weapon, which he was doing when he had it pointed down. What kind of maniac attacks somebody with a gun in their
Hmm.
hand? I mean, and they walk off
Yeah.
scot free. Number three, this section does not limit the authority of the Board of Regents or other post secondary institutions to regulate the carrying of weapons as defined in 45.
Is that Is that new? Because I don't see that in on their Montana code annotate. Because that's 45.3.111.
Yep. So
That is a
he, I think he fell within all of these means. I mean, display the way he displayed it too and described
yeah.
it, figure off the trigger.
Well, and as you're reading it, it's I mean to be able to have the like as I read it, to me it seemed pretty clear that he was in control of his actions at that point. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew where his hand placements or finger placements were on the gun. He knew the safety
Mm-hmm.
was on, and
Yep.
he was thinking clearly enough, despite how chaotic I would imagine the situation being, to try and holster his gun and get pepper spray out instead for a less or a non-lethal force to be able to
Means.
be used.
Yeah. Incredible. Because he was already within his rights to drop Rudy and get him under control by pointing a gun at him and presenting it and putting him down. He was the aggressor. And if Mike would have fell over and he would have got on top of him, your number one thing is to protect the weapon that is in your hand, or even if you're holstered, your job is to cover that and
Mm,
go into, if he was even holstered and he fell over, it's a ball position on your firearm, protecting it until you can get to. where you need to while you're being attacked. So I think Mike was very clear. When I train others, this is how I train them, because I train them to
Mm-hmm.
that specific law and the way it is. So when if I'm training the wrong way, people, and all of a sudden I get hailed in, let's read what the other officers' account of this
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
Let's read that. Let's see if it
Oh, where'd
contradicts
it
any
go?
of
Here it
this
is.
stuff.
Okay, so this is Officer Dale Wilcox. On 1/29/2024 at 07:06 hours, officers were dispatched to a disturbance at the Motel 6 located at 2 Treasure State Drive in Great Falls involving what sounded like several people. It was reported that someone pulled a gun on a dog and someone else was pepper sprayed. After I completed the call I was on, I responded to assist. When I arrived, Officer Watson was speaking with an involved party. Shortly after, we went to make contact with the person that had pulled the gun. After he was detained in handcuffs, I went and spoke with staff from the motel. I was shown the video, but due to the screen there being dark, was unable to see much in detail. I provided a flash drive upon which the video was downloaded. The following is a summary of the events and part of the video. The flash drive was placed into evidence at the Great Falls Police Department. The video shows a male, later identified to me as Mr. Michael Scherbach, walk his dog outside. Later, another dog runs from across the parking lot toward Mr. Scherbach and his dog. That dog starts moving around Mr. Scherbach and his dog. Female ran over from where the dog came from, and another male came over from a parked vehicle. The video is unclear on what happened when they were all together due to the distance and the darkness. After a short time, Mr. Scherbach stumbles back and then starts walking away from the area with his dog. After the entire time Mr. Scherbach is visible on the camera, I could see that he was holding a firearm straight back behind him, away from other people. The other male follows him over and then goes toward his truck. The other male then started going back toward Mr. Scherbach and started another confrontation. He started advancing toward Mr. Scherbach, but Mr. Scherbach kept the firearm pointed down and behind him. After a short time, a different male comes out of the motel and gets between the other male and Mr. Scherbach. Mr. Scherbach at some point lost control of the leash of his dog. The first male picks up the leash and starts to walk away with it. Mr. Scherbach then deployed pepper spray at the other male and then got the leash back and went into the motel. I advised Officer Watson, who was the primary investigating officer, of what I saw. After I was no longer needed, I cleared the call. That provides like a lot more context. Like this whole
Wow.
time he had his gun on his back, it looked like, so
Mm-hmm.
pointing down, pointing away, and I think this makes more sense about him losing control of the leash. And
There it
so
is.
at that point he had the free left hand to then grab the pepper spray and then to use that. So and despite them continually saying, because I think that was both Officer Watson and Officer Wilcox have said, the it was dark and they were far away, so it was hard to make things out on the video, but he was still able to describe some clear positioning of the pistol and where it was at.
Oh yeah, and he had every right to point at the dog, and have the right mind to lower it even lower behind the back when she jumps in, but she's got the dog by the tail, she reports. So she never really went in to jump on the dog where, you know, waving, getting in front of somebody who is trying to defend themselves. I know it's your dog. I get it. Okay. You don't want somebody to hurt your dog. And I tell my wife all the time, my dog Archie, he's got a spike, and he's harmless in so many ways, but people don't like the spike on his back. And I said, if we don't have him totally leashed and he does get out and he's a little riled up, a police officer would shoot my dog because he
Mm-hmm.
looks aggressive. His back is up, his spikes are up, but they don't know that that doesn't mean he's not.
Right.
Generally,
It's
that means the
honestly
dog is
more to
bad.
protect the dog. Yeah.
Right. And unfortunately, you can't blame people for your negligence if they take your dog out and
Mm-hmm.
you knew the way that this dog was going to behave. Even if not,
Mm-hmm.
that's on them.
So I do want to reiterate something that we read here, and I think Kevin, you even sort of like you said that when I was reading this. So after a short time, Mr. Scherbach stumbles back and then starts walking away from the area with his dog. So that sounds like that's when the male likely pushed him
Mm-hmm.
to get
Yep.
away. So at that point, the firearm was straight back behind him, away from other people. The other male follows him over and then goes towards his truck. The other male then started going back toward Mr. Scherbach and started another confrontation as he started advancing toward Mr. Scherbach, but Mr. Scherbach kept the firearm pointed down and behind him. Then eventually he would use the pepper spray.
Man, that guy's dumb.
Like this whole going, yeah, I mean, seriously, like it seemed like everything was diffused, at least to the point where
Mm-hmm.
people could be separated. So why go back? Why
Right.
reconfront them?
And why take his dog and trying to walk it to the other way? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're not justified to take somebody's life or do anything by taking your dog. In so many ways, right? That's not the use of deadly force. That's not. But him turning around and coming back again, that's a second time aggressing. He is, man, he's dumb. I don't even get, because he was still in retreat. And then he had a chase to go get his leash. So the pepper spray at least got him back his dog. I mean, so he used non-lethal because he knew he could not use. You can't use lethal force for a theft or whichever. They don't deem that to be necessary, and you'll be in big trouble. So there's a good lesson for all of you guys out there who are listening to this. You can't shoot over property in that way. It has to be to your body, and he did
Right.
everything right.
Yeah. So this, and if I know I pulled up a different screen, but he was originally just charged with criminal endangerment. But this now, at that point, it then goes to the county attorney to actually prosecute the case. So
Mm.
this was Angela Payne representing the county under Josh Rackey.
Well, we know that name.
Yes, we do. So, whereas information was filed in the District Court of the 8th Judicial District of Cascade County, Montana, charging the defendant Michael David Scherbach with the offenses of count 1, criminal endangerment, a felony in violation of Montana Code annotated 455207. Person convicted of the offense of criminal endangerment shall be fined an amount not to exceed $50,000 or imprisoned in the state prison for a term not to exceed 10 years or both. So this is what he was originally charged for. And then they add 2 additional charges as well. Count 2, assault with a weapon, a felony in violation of Montana Code annotated 455213-1B. A person convicted of this offense shall be imprisoned in the state prison for no more than 20 years, fined not more than $50,000 or both. In addition, if the person convicted is a partner or family member of the victim, the person is required to pay for and complete a counseling assessment as required in 455206-4. And then count 3, which is another charge of assault with a weapon. So in total,
Jeez, I know.
50 years
In prison
in prison
for doing
plus 150K.
yeah, that's bankrupt and in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the plea. I remember Mike saying, I did everything right. I did everything I thought was proper. And again, this is where I have the little bit of experience too, where he said, you don't really remember everything that's going on. Thank God for the cameras.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I said this under stress before. When you're placed under that much stress, you hope that everything was muscle memory and everything
Yep.
that you have been taught or learned came together. And it sounds like, gosh, did it come together for this guy? He's getting
Mm-hmm.
attacked by almost 2 gentlemen, okay,
A
and
dog.
a dog. Any cop would be like, "Damn, boy, that was
Right.
awesome,"
Well, and what's interesting, because we know about many cases here in Cascade County where they'll just convict someone on just witness testimony, no actual evidence. So to your point, like if that camera wasn't there, well, like they probably would have moved forward with this case, which were this eventually got dismissed, which we'll eventually get to that. But if they didn't have that recording, I'm not sure if this would have got dismissed, and probably would have likely gone in favor of the county attorney's office, which is rather disappointing because it more or less essentially is a sign that you're guilty until proven otherwise.
Right. Yeah, guilty until proven otherwise. That's, man. I mean,
We
that's
live in
what is
Soviet Russia nowadays.
No kidding. What happened to us? I mean, remember when I said Anne had her case and it was the same thing with an assault, and they, had to throw the case out because she was the aggressor and he was being charged. Luckily, there was other cameras there and things of that nature, but people just wanted to go home and they're going to ruin this kid's life
Hmm.
because of, well, I don't know, ignorance or the
Which,
directions from the judge.
which we've talked about recently. Like we need more civics training with our society. I mean, it's not just our students in public school, which that probably is where it should start, but we need it for adults. We need it for the community on to truly acknowledge what it means to be innocent until proven guilty.
Right. And too many times they have to say that it has to happen to them for them to understand that.
Yeah.
But that's not an excuse anymore. It
No.
used, we were taught civics. We knew our rights. When we got our keg taken, we always said, keep your mouth shut and just say, thank you. Have a good day.
Don't say anything. Yep.
Don't say shit. And I mean, let them take your keg of beer and be thankful they don't ride you home or do something else. Or it's so bad. It's gotten flipped around where we don't teach and give them the power to say, I don't need to speak with you. I'm just going to. But this is our point to grand jury. If this would have went to grand jury, I would I would have hoped that I would be on the grand jury. I'd stand up and give this guy an
Right.
ovation and be like, "Nice baby, that was
Well,
perfect."
and to your point, like the whole from my understanding of what we've heard from Bart is like some states the only way to charge with felonies is through a grand
Grand
jury. And
jury.
so you don't get this sort of leeway from from the county attorney to just be able to charge whatever you want, especially here. So this is one of the other points. So we mentioned earlier that he got the first count, which was already included in the charges that the law enforcement officers provided, but then the county attorney's office provided two additional charges, both assault with a weapon. And so they then offered a plea deal where they would still keep count one. They Mike would have pled guilty for count one of criminal endangerment, but then they would have moved to dismiss and will not prosecute the two counts felony or assault with a weapon. And so included in that, they recommended a 3-year deferred imposition of sentence. Defendant enter into and successfully complete a court-approved anger management course,
Oh
and
my
defendant
God,
enter into and successfully complete a gun safety course. Which,
send the money. Jeez,
yeah,
this
so
guy could school them.
yeah, well, and the point I wanted to make here is that the point of the grand jury is to make sure you're only charging them with crimes that they are actually should be put on trial for, but instead the prosecution has decided to add additional charges, charge stacking, in a way to incentivize plea bargaining or a plea deal afterwards that can seem less like a smaller sentence. And to the point for Mike, he was debating, okay, do I take the one count felony, a 3-year deferred sentence, and then do some training, or on the other hand, risk going to trial and get potentially 50 years in prison and $100,000 of fees on top of that. Like for most people, that it would be a no brainer on which you choose, and that to me and to many of my speech and debate students, because we're debating this exact topic, is coercion.
Yeah, it's also under distress. So I mean, and like I said, he was legitimately terrified. And, here's a man my age, 54. He's in his 50s. He obviously trains like I do and other responsible citizens like we're supposed to. Militia does mean something in the Constitution, people, and it means we the people. It's our job to be trained. I mean, and he's a very patriotic guy until this happened. And these guys turn, people who would have put blue on their doors into people who say, well, legitimately, fuck you. What are you doing? Maybe everybody was right. So are you, I mean, is that by design? So anyways, for him to get a defense, he actually had the insurance. We need to look it up. It's CC something insurance. And he reached out to them because he just so happened to carry that. Boy, mindful guy, isn't
And
he?
so this is firearm insurance, right?
Yeah, it's the firearm insurance you see everybody sees on YouTube and whatever else. Now they just came to Great Falls actually and did a training course for 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 just this incident and
Was it
others.
one of those free ones? Because I think I saw, because I think they're going to be up in Fort Benton here soon as
Yeah.
well. So we're thinking
And
about
now
trying
I
to
don't
go
want
to
to
one of
promote
those.
them because they did lose a couple of cases and didn't take them and dropped them. They've changed their insurance and they just so happened to change the provisions in the insurance to cover against people who are lying or could be perjurizing against you. So other witnesses and stuff. I don't know how much of that I have totally worded correctly, but it had just changed in his insurance that they would cover it. So they called a lawyer here in town. And do we have his name?
Uh, yes, it was Carl Jensen, the defendant's attorney.
Okay. So he obviously under the insurance purposes was given the case. And then we have some outcomes and then we'll talk about what happened with Mike here in a minute. But after he got that big hitter, okay, and they didn't know that this gentleman carried the insurance to wipe them to hire, well, $100,000 lawyer. Okay. So if he really needed to, he could be going way up to 50,000 in coverage
Right.
and whichever that coverage is. So once that happened, then gosh, what happened, Tony?
Well, and before we get that, like, again, that cost of the lawyer, right? Like, when you're trying to debate this plea deal and the cost of lawyer is part of that as well, like, all of those are variables in terms of your decision making, which can really put it in um
It would
the
have
short
bankrupt
straw for Mike.
it would have bankrupt his life savings, he said.
Yep.
And he's
So
up for retirement here in 7, 8 years or whatever he said, or 9 when I talked to him,
yeah.
10, something like that, real short. Yeah.
So eventually, different. It looks like this is a different one because on the original plea deal, it was Angela Payne, the deputy county attorney. Here, it is John C. Brothers, who is the representing county attorney.
Interesting.
So they provided a motion to dismiss without prejudice. So John C. Brothers, deputy county attorney for Cascade County, state of Montana, moves the court for its order dismissing the above captioned case without prejudice in the interests of justice. Although probable cause existed to charge the case, this motion is made on the grounds and for the reasons that the state reviewed the case, specifically the video of the incident, and defendant's assertion of justifiable use. The state likely cannot meet its burden at trial. The state further moves the court to vacate all upcoming hearings. And so that was the 5th day of June, so about 5 months after this whole event. But what I mean, something, just reading this again, the although probable cause existed, this motion is made on the grounds for a reason that the state reviewed the case, specifically the video of the incident, and the defendant's assertion of justifiable use. So it almost sounds like they weren't paying that close of attention to the video the first
No.
time they reviewed it. Because if they did, would they have added those extra charges, or were they just trying to play a negotiation game with those charges to get a plea deal? Which, I mean,
What's
I wouldn't put past the county attorney's office to play these sorts of games.
It's still sick though, because if she put herself into harm's way, that is a dog. You do not jump in front of a bus to save your dog. You do not jump into the raging river to save your dog. You do not do some of these things from the dog's behavior
Yeah.
and your. You just don't do that. And for these guys to say there was probable cause, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's a big line to pull. That's a big line to toe. You want to talk about that second or two he was in the dark, and then all of his other actions are blown out of the water? Like he did it. I mean, totally professional. Totally no other citizen. Geez, an average citizen just pulled that off. Are you embarrassed that he would outdo your police officers and you could actually show that for training? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And with
So
prejudice. Ooh, that, I
yeah.
mean,
And here's the result. So the
without
judge,
prejudice. Yeah.
Judge Kunzman, upon motion of the state and good cause appearing, it is hereby ordered that the above captioned case shall be dismissed without prejudice in the interests of justice. It is further ordered that bond is exonerated. The clerk's office shall close the file. It was electronically signed and dated below. So, Kevin, is it good to be without prejudice or with prejudice?
You want with prejudice.
Okay,
And
why
this,
why is that?
it can
What
re,
is the prejudice
let's say,
against? Like who?
let's say you come back through town again. Mike is out drinking. Mike is having a good time. He doesn't even have a weapon on him. Doesn't have anything. Let's say something happens. He gets into a car accident. Okay. And they run his name. His name is still in the system. Okay. So they'll see him and portray him as somebody who was, and we know how passing a grapefruit goes around. It always comes back as a grape. It doesn't come back as a grapefruit. It comes back as a grape. And the way that they talk with each other. So Mike was always in fear. He's like, if I come back here, I still have fear that they will still detain me, try to run me back through the mill again. You find me the man, I'll find you the crime. And he keeps it wide open for that. With prejudice, it's you can't touch this case again. Shame on you for bringing it to me. I don't want to see it again. Get it out of my courtroom. And it's then that stuff is erased from everywhere, which under Mike's credit, he said he went for a high profile job and they never brought it up his case. So he has airplane clearance and some other things, and he's on all kinds of stuff. So this guy's a professional, and
Right.
so he was afraid that was going to hurt his job and do and hurt his opportunities. Well, he said, luckily nothing came up, and he says, I'm so thankful because I could have been in real trouble. I mean, our fingerprints are everywhere, and he's an out-of-stater, so he gets a reciprocity license, so
Yeah. Yep.
he carries, all over where he's legal to carry. He never leaves his thing. So not only does he need to know Montana law, he needs to know all the laws in your surrounding states that you're going to travel through. And we have a very good stand your ground law. We're supposed to, but these guys, man,
Well, and what we were alluding to at the start of this recording session was the without prejudice. He's we haven't been able to get in contact with Michael,
mm,
which we were saying. I mean, we can't really blame him for that, because why would you want to, end up trying to piss off anyone in Great Falls Police Department or Cascade County by showing up on one of our podcasts to talk about this, when you have this without prejudice being held over your head. So,
yeah, and I don't blame him. I
mhm.
mean, he gave us our
Yeah,
it's public record. He gave us the
yeah,
records to talk about. We wanted him to go. I wanted to go to the Cascade Effect, but I don't know what we'll have to see. But
yeah,
I know that one of the officers, and I don't know which one, quit shortly after this.
hmm, yeah.
And Mike had said something that he might have thought it was because when they showed up, he said, I put in my report that the other gentleman was the aggressor. They didn't get arrested for being the aggressors. Okay. And they're scot free.
It's
And
a
the
good
lying.
example of right. It's a good example of good cops being having shying away from law enforcement because of the bad cops. And again, because I know we'll always get flack that we're anti law enforcement, but to our credit here, let's just summarize who we think are the good guys and the bad guys, at least within our public officials here. So the two officers who originally responded, Officer Nicholas Watson, the first guy to respond, and Officer Dale Wilcox, the second officer to respond, who we read their reports from, they both seem to have done a very good job in terms of writing what went on, what they saw, and how they interpreted the situation. Who wasn't a good law enforcement officer was Sergeant Price, who said, despite what both of these officers believed, Sergeant Price apparently thought Michael did provide a substantial risk of death. In this instance, you have two good cops I would say, our opinion, and then you have the commanding officer in this case, Sergeant Price, telling them to to charge him with and arrest him for that. Yeah. So you have that situation, and then you have the whole county prosecuting the county prosecuting or the attorneys also being in the wrong here, overcharging, trying to provide a plea deal,
Excessive.
and then having a motion, and this sort of gets on the judge as well, having a motion to dismiss without prejudice instead of dismissing with prejudice.
And the judge could have did that. He could override the evidence. And I don't understand why Kutzman didn't go, why is this even in my courtroom?
Right. Why are we wasting time on this? We have piles of cases we need to get through. Why are we talking about this?
Because they think they're going to get a plea deal. It's a money deal. They think they're going to get whatever they want out of those things. And nobody wants to bring it up and challenge them.
That's a good point.
Because Mike's scared out of his freaking gourd.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You and I, we're no different. We're the same citizens that walk the streets. I'm more trained, obviously, than you, but you just need to get trained up. That's all. Don't worry about it. We'll have you,
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But you can't do this.
Mm-mm.
And I'm disappointed in them. I'm very disappointed.
And hopefully it's us and other folks holding these guys their feet to the fire, so then we get more of the Wilcox and Watsons and less of the Prices of the world.
Right.
That's sort of the goal of this all.
Well, this is the Undercurrent, and we'll be back to this case sometime soon, I hope. If you want to leave something in the comments, and you can see the documents if you want to look those over, and maybe there's something that we missed, or maybe we're just bonkers. Maybe we're just off our gourds. But this is the Undercurrent, and I'm Kevin.
I'm Tony.